Hello everyone, and welcome to a video by the Gesta Freakorum. What? What? I hear you say? Because this is, of course, the YouTube channel for 1960s and 70s Chronicles of a Golden Era. So, what do you mean, the Gesta Freakorum? Well, that's what the video is about. I'll explain. It's something that I have posted on the Chronicles Facebook page ages ago. It's an anecdote, really, an amusing story, I think anyway, about how Chronicles got its name, why Chronicles is called 1960s and 70s Chronicles of a Golden Era, and how it could have been called something else, namely, can't say it without laughing, the Gesta Freakorum, and I love the name. But it didn't make it to the Gesta Freakorum. I discussed this obviously with a great old buddy, the late Big D, familiar to people who've been on Chronicles for a while. And we kind of discussed that. He loved the Gesta Freakorum. So did I, frankly. But we discussed it and we decided that for the reasons of gravity, the fact that we wanted to present a more reasonable and accurate account of the 1960s and 70s youth social and cultural revolution, and kind of get that it was wacky and fun thing, which it was, but it wasn't just that. Great things were achieved during our era, socially and politically and culturally. It's the classical age of modern culture, music and other art forms. And we wanted to get that across. We wanted it to be a kind of weighty page that had some fun involved. So we went for 1960s and 70s Chronicles of a Golden Era instead of the Gesta Freakorum. Yeah. So why Chronicles and why alternatively Gesta Freakorum? Okay, it's this. I have a master's degree in history, medieval history to be precise. Now, when you're studying history of any kind, of great value are sources that are primary sources. I'm sure everyone knows what that means, but I'll explain anyhow. Primary sources are accounts by people close to events, either physically close to the events, they were there right at the moment things were happening, unfolding, or close to events in time. They may not have been at certain set piece events, let's say Woodstock, for example, but they were alive at the time, they were around at the time, they heard the news, they heard the stories. These are people who were in the vicinity of the history as it was unfolding. These are primary sources. Okay, so certainly in medieval history, an awful lot of these primary sources have the names the Chronicles of something or other. Alternatively, the Gesta something. Gesta means deeds, the deeds. The acts, in other words. The must-read key primary source for understanding the First Crusade from a European point of view, Central European point of view, is a text called the Gesta Francorum. The Gesta Francorum, which means the deeds of the Franks, the deeds of the French. Okay, because crusading, certainly the First Crusade, and actually even subsequent crusades for the around about 200 years of crusading in the Levant, which oversees the Holy Land, Palestine, Syria, and so on, was these crusading enterprises were mostly considered to be a French motivated, a French driven phenomenon. They weren't, of course, just French. They were crusading armies and crusading noblemen from all over Central Europe, but they were considered to be a Frankish thing. For example, the sources in the Middle East, in other words, what would be considered the Muslim or the Turkish or the Arab sources, don't refer to these events as the Crusades. They refer to them as the Frankish Wars, the wars with the Franks. And any crusaders coming to the Holy Land were called Franks of one sort or another. It could be German, they could be English, they could be Italian or from the Italian naval states. They were still the Franks. So that's why the Gesta Freakorum, the deeds of the Franks. Okay. That's why I considered calling this page, this project, the Gesta Freakorum. Can't say it that loud. The Gesta Freakorum. The deeds of the freaks. I still love it. But like I say, between myself and Big D, God rest him, we decided something more serious. Chronicles, 1960s and 70s. Chronicles of the Golden Era. Historical document. And we settled on that. And I think wisely. Because we wanted this to be a page with gravity, like I think I've described, and the name has more gravity to it. But I still love the name, the Gesta Freakorum. So I'm thinking, how can I use this? Okay. Well, lately, thanks to Morton G. Hughes, we've started running a successful contributory series called The Greatest Ever Year for Music. And we've had people say, this is my case for 1960 or 70, whichever. Looking for more on that. We've got some great things going on there. Thank you to everyone. And thanks to Mort for the idea. But here's my idea. Some of the articles that I've written for Chronicles could come into the category of Gesta Freakorum, because they were wacky, they were a bit amusing and a bit crazy. And how did you get into a situation like that? For example, the Genesis gig in Edinburgh I went to with two friends. We finished up on stage chatting to Mike Rutherford during the soundtrack and all that stuff. It's in Chronicles, you can read that. Wacky situation, Gesta Freakorum, Deeds of the Freaks. Being backstage on the backstage list for the Boomtown Rats 1979 sellout tour of the UK, and the wacky things that happened around that, the Gesta Freakorum. But it was an age, wasn't it? Wasn't it an age of getting into, in our youth, getting into wacky situations? Not just me, not necessarily everybody. Some people were far more sensible, I get. But it was an exploratory, innovative, new ideas, new freedoms being searched for and being won, and society kind of opening up. And we were in a situation that kind of lent itself to freaky situations. Hitchhiking around the country. Hitchhiking was kind of big. Well, it had been since the beatnik times. Jack Kerouac's On the Road, tells that kind of thing, and I think that fed into the 50s, into the 60s, into the 70s. I certainly done my share of hitchhiking, and going to gigs, etc., etc. Now, nothing too personal, nothing that's going to be offensive to anybody, although it may be fun to you. I think we know the kind of neighborhood we're talking about here. Things that may be good fun and exciting to one person, other people may have bad memories of the same kind of situation. We know the kind of way that Chronicles works, and the things that we steer clear of, mentioning in a casual kind of way. But wacky situations that can be kind of reported in an article, make people laugh or make people go, wow. I've read a few situations about, people meeting bands and so on, and just doing things around these times that are make me smile, but also make me go, wow. You get the bragging rights over anything I've done for that, So those are the kind of stories we're looking for, because it was that kind of age when to be young lend itself to, let's kind of push the boat out and get a bit, and you finish out in situations that are crazy, wacky, freakish. And that's why the Gesta Freakorum, the deeds of the freaks, wacky anecdotes that you might be able to send to Chronicles via a message on the Chronicles Facebook page. And again, I'll be very, very happy to, edit them and put them onto the page in the same way as the Greatest Ever Year for Music series. I think it'll be fun, and it's certainly a reason for me to make use of the name the Gesta Freakorum, the deeds of the freaks, just in a fun kind of way. So I hope that sounds like a good idea. Actually, I'd be interested in comments from you to see, do you think it's a good idea? Is there anything you could contribute? And that's the reason for this video, kind of asking you for that opinion on going ahead with this. And I think it'll be fun. Meanwhile, the usual thing, the pointy downy thing, as I call it, is that the right side? Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. It's really going to help a lot. It is helping a lot. It's really coming along, and thank you very much for everyone who has subscribed so far. And link the YouTube videos, leave comments on the YouTube videos, but also on the Facebook page when it's posted there. And let's see if we can get the Gesta Freakorum as a subsection of Chronicles up and running, because I think this could be a whole lot of fun, really. In the meantime, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for subscribing. If you do, please do. That would be helpful, and I'd be very grateful. And I will see you next time.